Super Paper Mario. While this entry in the Paper Mario series steered away from the traditional turn-based combat style in favor of a more platformer-focused way to play, it also introduced a new mechanic: flip into 3D. Well, I don't think Nintendo realized what was going to come of that. Alright, I skipped ahead too much. Let's start from the beginning. After being introduced to the new characters, partners, and moves you can perform, you'll wind up in Chapter 1-2. Towards the end of the chapter, you'll come across a gap which can only be crossed by helping a local townsperson out, who in return will let down the bridge for you to cross. You can head over to town where you'll once again be greeted by another gap. You'll have to go to another nearby townsperson, but this guy won't be as helpful. Instead of running back and forth to convince him to let the second bridge down for you, make sure to grab a life shroom which will restore 5 of your health points once you die, and then flip into 3D. Once the 3D counter runs out, you'll lose 1 health point. By having 1 HP left, once your counter has nearly run out, you'll have to jump over the gap. You should be stopped in the middle of the air, with a life shroom recovering your health. As soon as this animation is over, you have just 1 frame to press the A button to flip back into 2D. You're given a lenient window to jump again, and can make it across the gap to finish the chapter. This sounds good and all, but what was that thing where you could walk in the air we saw earlier? While it's quite convoluted, I'll do my best to explain it. Only on version 1.0 of the game, you can use this sign in the town shop to clip out of bounds. Once positioned up against the left wall in 3D, flip to 2D and walk to the sign until Mario's nose has disappeared. Go back into 3D and, being careful not to fall into a sudden abyss, walk up left until you're on a small seam inside the wall. Go up just enough to where you'll be inside of this upper wall with some of Mario's features hidden. Run to the right and jump over this door frame. Continue walking towards the right until you can see only a sliver of the inside of the shop on the left side of the screen. Jump up and you should hit the save block. Save your game, restart and load your save file. Mario should be falling into another abyss, and after a bit, you'll respawn towards the right side of town behind this wall. Make your way to the right just behind this pipe, flip into 3D, then jump and move down slightly. Being now behind the pipe and barely able to see anything, move over to the left, reposition yourself by moving right towards the pipe again, and then back to the left. If this didn't sound convoluted enough, don't worry, it gets worse. Face yourself towards the right, then hold down left and the home button at the same time. You should have moved Mario for only 1 frame. From here, you'll have to hold up for only 4 frames. Using the home menu button can definitely help, but it's all about getting the right timing. This is one of the hardest parts to it, so don't be surprised if it takes you a while. Quite a while. After doing all this, if you hold up, Mario should be ascending towards the heavens. We're nearly done at this point. Walk up until you're just above the level of this house, then walk to the right until you're relatively towards the edge of this platform. Walk up again until you're just barely able to see Mario's feet on the top of the screen. Hold right and then jump a little bit after. You want to make sure Mario gets a running start, so don't run and jump at the same time. While still holding right, once you make it far down enough, hold down right and Mario will have made it across the gap. Okay, let's dial it down a bit. Chapter 1-4 will put you inside of ancient ruins. For some reason, these ruins have doors to unlock and puzzles to solve. One of these will involve a key which is hidden behind blocks. Once you hit the switch in the other room, these blocks will go away, and using throw, you get the key and boom, you're on your way to the next challenge. Well, what if I don't want to hit buttons? You could always clip through the floor using a crouch jump, land on the sand inside the wall, flip into 3D, then jump on the ledge inside the left wall, then jump and move down until you can flip back into 2D and get the key. I mean, call me crazy, but that sounds more sane to me than hitting a button. After running through the ruins and defeating a giant electric dragon,
whoa, this sounds totally awesome!
You'll end up in Chapter 2. Here you'll meet up with another pixel who will help you clear blocks and other debris, a bomb named Boomer.
Oh, Melee was the best.
Alright, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. You know what? Let's skip him too. If you have a shell shock in your inventory, make your way towards where you'd go to find Boomer, But instead, make use of this creature's head by jumping off it to get up to the doors above, and head over to the room on the very right. Here, use a shell shock so you end up kicking a large shell, then use throw to pick it up. Line yourself up with this line in the floor by having Mario face to the left, with the line being in the middle of his left foot. Flip into 3D and move all the way to the right. Run towards the left and jump up to the hole in the ceiling, turning right in the middle of the jump so you release the shell in the middle of this hole. You should see a mini cutscene start to play, followed by a rumble noise. Investigating further outdoors, you'll see a door which was not there before, leading to the end of the chapter. 2 missions later, you'll wind up breaking a vase in this mansion you discovered. The maid of the mansion will come rushing out, enraged over this act. From here, you'll be forced to pay a fine of 1,000,000 rubies, a currency which is only really used in this mission. The only real way of making enough rubies is by being forced to do hard labor. I mean literally forced. Of course, Nintendo are not going to want you to work up to 1,000,000 rubies this way. You'll come to find out later on that there's another pixel hidden in the walls of this part of the mansion. You can use them to your advantage by slimming down to nothing, which is great for getting past these laser walls guarding a safe where, after hearing through the grapevine from some of the other employees for a small fee, you'll learn the passcode to the vault. Opening it up will gain you 1,000,000 rubies and you can finish the mission off. But that's no fun, because you'll still have to work a good amount just to be able to get these tips to gain the amount of this odd currency that you need. You remember the life shroom? That'll come in handy again, and you don't even have to use Slim to get where you need to go. Once you're down to 1 HP, head up to the laser walls by going into 3D on the top floor. Wait until the lasers cross, and get hit by the one coming towards you shortly after. You'll regain health while the first wall passes you by. Waiting again until both walls come close, start walking to the right, and after taking some damage, you should clip right past the second wall and be on your merry way. After having some help online to find the code you need, you can gain the money and clear the mission. But wait, even after everything, you still need to pass these jail bars to get to the star to complete the chapter, so you still need Slim for that. Or do you? It's possible to actually just jump through the bars by yourself. Flip into 3D and stand on the left part of this window. Run towards the end of it, then jump and hold up right. Like I said, you'll jump through the bars and can clear the chapter mission, skipping yet another pixel unlock. Chapter 3 is where things really start to heat up. No, seriously, you get Bowser to join your party and he burns the place down. In 3-2, while swimming through the ocean of the Bitlands, there will be a pipe which leads down to a room of underwater enemies. Eradicating them all will cause a chest to spawn. Can you take a guess at what's inside? It's another pixel named Thudley. You can use him to smash things down, just like you would with a hammer. Oh, sorry Cudge, forgot you were in here. Thudley can be used for more than just hammering stuff down. You can use him in the same chapter mission to swim in the air. Using a nearby blooper, right after getting hit, you can jump out of the water and then use Thudley to ground pound. Something about doing these actions in quick succession will make your character swim in the air. You can swap between any character or pixel during this time while keeping the state. It's only really ever been used in a small section though, so there's not much you can do with it. Sure, that's kinda cool being able to swim in the air and all that, but this pixel is one of a few that can completely break the boundaries. Allow me to introduce you to Thudley jumping. Like a lot of glitches and exploits in this game, Thudley jumping is another frame-perfect trick, meaning that you only have one frame to pull it off, and with this being a 60 frame per second game, that could be challenging to pull off consistently. It's not as complicated as Green Bridge Skip, but it still takes patience to get down. Using Mario, jump and then use Thudley. Right before you slam down to the ground, press 1 again to cancel the ground pound animation, and press A shortly after. The challenging part is getting the timing between pressing 1 and A down. If you're able to master this, you can go just about anywhere you want within the levels. Here are some examples of what you can do. In Chapter 3-3, while you normally have to wait for platforms to move or swap between characters to cross gaps, you can instead use Thudley jumping to get to other areas sooner. In Chapter 5-1, You're meant to talk to a local Kragnon to help you with a very long-winded puzzle involving hitting blocks in the right order. Or you could subtly jump over this wall to skip the block puzzle and get right to the finish. Chapter 5-4 will have you fighting O-Chunks, one of the main villains at Count Blick's disposal once again. Instead of wallowing through a room of brainwashed Kragnons to get to O-Chunks, just subtly jump to this pipe up here to enter the room backwards. In Chapter 7-3, you'll arrive in the Cloud World where you're meant to bring an NPC over to her destination, which is way above this world. The game wants you to traverse through many levels of clouds, all while finding Peach along the way, who's recently eaten an apple which sent her into a deep sleep. So you'll have to collect the many types of apples until you find the correct one to wake her up. You'll need to repeat the process to get this cloud to grow to enormous size to help you reach the end of the level. Or you could, thudly jump that shit. The only real concern here is that aside from a few thudly jumps you'll have to perform to cross a gap that Peach is normally meant to do, the height of the end of the level is rather large. Skipping the cloud can prove to be a daunting task, as optimally, it'll take at least 40 thudly jumps to get to the end. There are many clouds to help you take little breaks along the way, but it's still quite a lot to overcome. In Chapter 4-4, we can do another 3D mode injury glitch, although this does not involve dying. In the Woe Zone, there's this room with a chest on the ceiling. Normally you're supposed to hit a switch which will flip gravity. This will allow you to enter an upside down door so you can open the upside down chest. But we can opt to take a cooler approach to it. Stand right next to this lock in the door and flip into 3D, making sure you're lined up with the chest. Right as the 3D counter counts to the last box, flip back into 2D and immediately perform a thudly jump. Mario will be fearing for his life, but just let his sound play out. As soon as the sound stops, jump forward towards the chest and hit the home button upon touching it. Make sure you're still holding up and close the home menu. If done right, you should have opened the chest up right as you took damage. Super Paper Mario has many items that do a variety of different things. One of these are gold bars. The only thing you can really do with these is exchange them for gold coins. If you try to use it, Mario will just end up tossing it out. This may seem pointless, but some gamers quickly discovered there's more to this item than you might think. Used in combination with Slim, you can essentially clip through any wall in the game. The formula for setting it up would be as follows. In 3D, line up against a wall and use a gold bar. Once you throw it away, use Slim and walk over in front of the bar. Jump on top of it so that you'll also be up against the wall you want to clip through. From here, press 1 and 2 at the same time to bring up the menu to swap between characters and pixels, and change your pixel to any other one. While the pixel is being changed, hold in the direction of the wall and you'll be able to phase through it. This can be very useful once you acquire Slim. If there's any sort of barrier preventing you from getting somewhere, you can just clip right through it. There's ground that runs through this wall, which while it's kinda rare, is beneficial as you can casually walk right to the end to progress to the next chapter mission. You can even finish a mission while falling out of bounds. It'll mess with the end cutscene some, but will quickly return back to normal. Chapter 6 can provide another minor use for gold bar clipping. In 6-1, you'll have to fight 20 rounds of samurai fighters. Using gold bar clipping, you can clip through the stage, following a small seam around the edges to get to the door at the end. However, you can only really skip the fights in rounds 17 and 20, as for any other round, the door at the end will not allow you to enter. In Chapter 6-2, you can pass another 4 samurais without having to fight, as clearly the end of times are upon everyone. In the 5th room, instead of hopping on stage which will signal the end of that world through a cutscene, use a gold bar clip to pass by the stage and enter the door. From here you'll have 20 completely empty rooms that you can run through, with a whole lot of nothing greeting you at the end. In turn, these rooms are normally run through after the game is over, where you can fight all the samurai fighters to get to the end. Boy, that gold bar has proven to be useful to break the game a ton. Well, at least it's all over now.
Oh, hello there!
In Chapter 4-2, after acquiring an ancient scroll which will end up being used as toilet paper, you'll come into contact with Fleep, a pixel that can flip something around for you from another dimension. It's not quite the same as Mario's flipping, as the objects that can be pulled cannot be seen in 3D. That being said, when in 3D mode, you can use Fleep, who will quickly turn you back around to 2D mode. With this in mind, if you stand on an edge not too far and yet not too little, flip into 3D and then use Fleep. If you quickly turn back to 2D, but realize you can't actually utilize Fleep's power, then you're in a prime spot to perform what is known as a Fleep Ledge Cancel, or FLC for short. When performing an FLC, you can interact with doors, ladders, and characters that aren't necessarily right near you. For example, in 1-4, there's a pit with a door suspended mid-air. Using a switch above, you can fill that pit so you can access said door. Well, with the Fleep Ledge Cancel, you can open the door even when there's a large pit preventing you from doing so. In Chapter 5-4, there's a scanner you have to pass through to progress to that chapter's boss. You must be wearing a sprout on your head, which you can obtain from the O-Chunks fight from before. But there's no fun there. Using a gold bar clip up against the back wall, you can then perform an FLC if you're in the right spot to open the door, skipping the scanner entirely. Just before starting Chapter 8, instead of heading towards the door, which will force you to talk to Nullrum, the flop-side version of Merlin who's helped you throughout the game, perform an FLC off the right edge of this platform. Holding up immediately after pressing 1 will have you walk to open the door. The cutscene of everyone talking will start to play, but the game will fade to black and start the last chapter. Sure, you can open doors and interact with objects from a distance, but what about characters? And what if you were to talk to a character behind you? Strangely enough, this can be done in 7-1 after you've already escaped the underworld once. In this room, you'll meet up with an NPC who will offer you a ride on his boat across the River Twigs. If you instead decide to swim across the river, flip into 3D and stand just to the left of the center line. Flip back into 2D and line yourself up along the edge. Flip back into 3D once again, then press 1 and then up. If you're doing this on a console, it can be tough to get the timing down, so what can help is once you press 1, press the home menu button right after. Then hold up and close out of the home menu and you should start talking to the guy from across the river. When he offers you a ride, accept it and you'll hop right into the river. You'll be stuck at the bottom of the river, forced to listen to this nightmare-inducing track playing in the background. A lot of ground has been covered, but there's a few more things I'd like to showcase here. Through the various chapters in the game, you'll come across these small doors which will offer a store where you can buy stuff. Towards the end of Chapter 5, you'll encounter Dottie, who will shrink you down to size to fit in these tiny doors. When using Mario's 3D mode, shrink down to size and get up against the door. If you hold the direction to open the door for long enough and then pause, you can change pixels, and if timed right, you should return to normal size while entering this tiny shop. Considering you'll be mostly out of bounds, the game will prevent you from swapping between pixels, but not characters. Either way, you can't escape as the door won't work considering you're not of the proper size, and at this point you're stuck here. Gold bar clips have had their uses for different things, but making use of some weird camera angles can cause odd effects. On the first floor of Flipside, go into 3D and get up against the left wall. Make sure you have Slim selected as your pixel. Just like before, you want to perform a gold bar clip, making sure that when you can clip in 3D, that you're holding left for a little bit to get inside the wall. If you did this up against a door such as Merlin's, you should see the town from the back side. Flipping back into 2D, hold up right and you could enter a door far away as if you were performing an FLC. Depending on where you perform this, you could enter some different doors, including the main elevator. If you do enter the elevator, you'll notice the cutscene will be all screwed up, and you can either land right back where you were, or just above town to the platform where a heart pillar is located. This one can give the effect that you bought a shady copy of the game from a shifty person. Bring your health down to 1 HP. Gold bar clip up against Merlin's, just like before, but instead of going back into 2D, walk left until you're lined up with a save block. Then flip into 2D and jump. You should have a prompt to save, which you should do so promptly. You may end up dying, and that's okay. Load the save file back up again and you'll die just like before. Actually, whenever you load the save file now, it'll be an instant death sentence, causing a successfully cursed save file. Super Paper Mario is no stranger to various glitches and other odd occurrences, and new stuff is still being found today. If you're interested in more Super Paper Mario content, check out the SPM Community YouTube channel. Links in the description. With that being said, thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, take care and peace.